I think we should start. Datela mkhwasi re starta. Okay, good morning everybody. Let me welcome the chairperson of the CPA Africa region, Honorable Muturi in absentia, the Deputy President of CPA South Africa branch, Legislature, the President of the CPA Sub-Region Free State, Mazanele Sefuba, the Premier of the Free State, the Secretary General of the CPA in absentia, the British High Commissioner, who's also not part of our encounter, the honorable members, distinguished guests. I have also recognized the former members of this legislature. You are also welcomed. The DG, welcome. Honorable members, if you quickly recollect, our 2 plenary sessions has dealt with the constitution of our sub-region and the election of the executive committee. By virtue of Mezanele being the speaker and Melusi Mapena as the deputy, they are chair and deputy chair, Ndate Machaka, the secretary, by virtue of being also the secretary of the legislature, and I'm the treasurer, which happens to be important occasions, the launching of our sub-branch. And as we establish the CPA Free State Legislature sub-region, it will help us to redefine what the CPA should accomplish within the context of the continent and how it can be used to advance African interests and perspectives in a global space. This day should be used to recognize African progress whilst also reflecting on the common challenges we face on a global, region and local level. The launch of the CPA Free State Legislature sub-region must advance Africa's political and cultural heritage that unites us rather than divides us. It should also help us deepen democracy and promote gender equality in the CPA work, but most importantly, it should help us confront the contradiction that the CPA is registered as a charity organization in the United Kingdom, which does not allow it to promote parliamentary democracy under English and Welsh law. Honorable members, you are welcomed. I am not going to do much of the talking. It's a launch. We do have our guest that will address the session. Without much ado, I must also indicate up front that the session was scheduled, in fact, to start exactly at 10 o'clock. We are behind schedule. Let me call upon the Premier of the Free State, the first citizen of this province, Mese Foran Tombela, to welcome us. Mese Foran Tombela.
Thank you. Thank you, Chair of Chair. Indeed, it's Africa Day today. Speaker and the Deputy Speaker of the Legislature, the Program Director, Chair of Chairs, Honorable Jabulani Khadebe, members of the Free State Legislature, and the permanent delegates in the NCOP, the National Branch of the Republic of South Africa, Honorable Amos Masondo, Akimboni, but I understand you can about things individually, I'm not sure. Deputy President of the National Branch, Ntateli Chisa, and I've seen Ntateli Chisa is here, the Speaker of the National Parliament, members of the Sub-Branch Executive Committee, Deputy Chief Whip of KZN, and I've seen that she's here, members of the Executive Council of the Free State Province present here, former members of the Free State Legislature that are present today, traditional leaders that are present today, the Director General of the Free State, and I've seen he is here, leaders of Chapter 9 and Chapter 10 institutions. Let me just say, distinguished guests that are here, and ladies and gentlemen, good morning. On this day, Africa Day, we give ourselves an opportunity to reflect and celebrate what it means to be African. While Africa remains challenged with poverty, inequality, and joblessness, much progress has been made in defining what it truly means to be an African in a modern context. At the center of our identity are our languages, our cultures, our grit, our belief systems, our storytelling, and the many natural resources that remains both a gift and a curse. The story of Africans' potentials is as old as time itself. To this day, we have made a little progress in realizing the potentials. In the Free State, the language of Sesotho spoken by over 64%. When I say 54%, I mean out of 2.9 population of the Free State, almost 1.7 of the Free Staters are Sesotho-speaking people. It is followed by Afrikaans, Xhosa, then Setswana, and then isiZulu. At the end is English by 35,000 people. Mara ntho e ka o makatsang ke hore batho kaofela ba bua English. Batho kaofela ba lebetse Sesotho. Kaofela ha rona ha o sa tsebe English, batho ba o kuka o le domo, o sa tsebe letho. Mara population ya rona ya Free State 1.7 out of 2.9 ke Sesotho. Ho na le puo ena e buehang e reng setjhaba se bolayang puo ya habo sona ke setjhaba se ipolayang. Ke ne ke kopa hore ha re etseng bonnete ba hore re boulela puo tsa habo rona, ha re etseng bonnete ba hore Sesotho se a tsebisahala, seaparo sa Sesotho se shweshwe, botho ba rona bo ya tsebisahala, seZulu se a tsebisahala, seXhosa se a tsebisahala. Let us not destroy our own language because re etsa tsietsi e kgolo ka ho etsa taba eo e jwalo. However, colleagues, I must tell you, there is a hope. Today we have witnessed some of the greatest achievements in the world bearing the identity of the Africans. Some of the greatest athletes are Africans, and indeed it is. So we must make sure that we continue to encourage our children ho matha ha esale le ntho ya batho bana ba bo rona, and we must keep on doing that. Re ske bebe ra etsa bonnete ba hore bana ba bo rona ba lahlehelwa ke taolo ya bona. Setjhaba se itibalang, setjhaba se lebalang setso sa sona ke setjhaba se ipolayang ka bo sona. On behalf of the people of the Free Staters, it is indeed a privilege to host all dignitaries for this occasion. We have always believed that South Africa cannot prosper if all Africa does not prosper. Our prosperity as a nation lies in Africa. Ka ho he re a le amohela dulang ka khotso mona Free State le amohelehile. Program Director re a leboha ha ba dule ba lokolohile ke hae mona Free State. Modimo ke eo khotso pula nala ke a leboha.
Re a leboha Romia Sesintombela. was reminded this morning by the robes, the manner in which our women is dressed. Indeed, today we are celebrating Africa Day. And it was my wish, or a page now. But maybe the impediment serves to be a weather in this regard. Without much ado, indeed, Sephora's Ntombela, Sesotho, re tla netefatsa gore re a se hodisa, re hlomphe meetlo ya rona le setso, re be setjhaba se sa ikemisetsang ho timela. I will call upon the Chief Whip of the Free State Legislature, Ntate Thabo to give us the purpose of the day, and surely the honorable member will gravitate in the direction of ensuring that he speaks much about the purpose and the existence of the CPA in Africa. Thank you very much. Ntate Meko.
Thank you very much, Chair. Let me recognize the Honorable Speaker, the patron of the sub-branch, the Honorable Speaker, who is the President and Chairperson of the sub-branch, the Honorable Deputy Speaker, who is the Deputy President of the sub-branch, members of the executive of the sub-branch, all members of the sub-branch, distinguished guests, and good morning to all. Chair of Chairs, the Free State sub-branch of the Commonwealth Parliamentary Association joins other branches and sub-branches of the Commonwealth Parliamentary Association as it launches the CPA sub-branch in the province of the Free State. We are indicating that the CPA had been a voice for parliamentary democracy across the 53 Commonwealth countries comprising 185 parliaments and legislatures with over 17,000 members. The launch is necessitated by the fact that the CPA constitution requires the establishment of national branches and sub-branches. And thank you very much, Honorable Premier, with your opening, which touched on the fact that the launch is welcome for the fact that it's been done today, at a time when we must reflect on the accomplishment of the people across the African continent and on the challenges that they still endure. This year's theme, Premier, is focused on the importance of addressing malnutrition in Africa. And we think that it's an important theme for our continent. We are proceeding to indicate that in order to afford members to put into operation the activities of the Commonwealth Society in the achievement of parliamentary democracy, the launch is further motivated by the resolution of the 50th CPA Regional Conference in Tanzania in 2019, which further demanded the establishment of branches and sub-branches as tools for the implementation of the Africa region strategic objectives, which are strengthening the capacity and maximizing the effectiveness of parliamentarians and parliamentary staff and enable mutual learning. 2, protecting and upholding the independence of the parliaments and legislatures, the principles of the separation of powers and broader human rights as set out in the Commonwealth Charter through strategic, strong partnership. Of course, number 3 is exactly what you said, Chair, persuading UK government to implement legislation recognizing the CPA as an international independent organization, supporting parliaments and parliamentarians to adapt, innovate and recover from crises such as COVID-19 as well as the national disasters. And lastly, supporting and enabling women parliamentarians, CPA small branches and Commonwealth parliamentarians with disabilities network to fulfill their strategic objectives, as well as promoting the values of the Commonwealth, parliamentary democracy, sustainable development to a wider audience. The resolution of the 64th CPA International Conference held in Uganda in 2019 required branches and sub-branches to operationalize the strategic objectives. Members of the Free State sub-branch continue to serve in the CPA structures and attend meetings and activities of the CPA. As a result, they are confronted with issues that need implementation at a sub-branch level. The key purpose of establishing a sub-branch is to build an informed parliamentary community that is able to contribute to deepening and championing the Commonwealth democratic commitment and to further cooperation amongst its parliamentarians, amongst its parliaments and legislatures. The CPA Free State sub-branch, together with other sub-branches of South Africa and Nigeria, 19 national branches, the 4 sub-regions of our African region, the Africa region, and other 8 regions of the Commonwealth Society, is expected, therefore, to contribute to some, if not many, of these critical matters, such as the transformation of the CPA and contractions issues that everybody is talking about today. A matter about Britain, as you raised it. In summary, the CPA's objective is to promote knowledge and understanding of the constitutional, the legislative, the economic, social, and cultural systems within the parliamentary democratic framework. The CPA's objectives is also to advance democracy, human rights culture, good governance, and parliamentary democracy amongst parliaments of its member states and legislatures. Part of this is to foster an informed parliamentary community and good parliamentary practices. These objectives are shared at conferences where delegates converge to share legislative and oversight best practices to foster parliamentary democracy and to hold the executive accountable. These sessions afford members an opportunity to consolidate their legislative knowledge and competencies on various constitutional aspects that form part of their constitutional and legislative mandate, and in advocating for freedom, democracy, and gender equality. With the formation of the Commonwealth Women's Parliamentarians and the adoption of the Constitution of the CPA sub-branch by the plenary of the Legislature on the 12th April this year, the launch of the CWP will be done subsequent to the election of members of the CWP Steering Committee at the AGM. The launch services an announcement of the commitment to the vision of the CPA, which includes upholding and strengthening parliamentary democracy, the rule of law, sustainable development, and human rights. This sub-branch has been a member of the CPA in good standing and participated in the activities of the CPA, as we said. This platform, therefore, is meant to introduce the sub-branch to the communities it serves. The members in the national branch and this sub-branch and other sub-branches, including staff, have been active members who have participated in the structures and programs of the CPA. We do so by sharing value lessons on how parliamentary democracy can be strengthened. It is that process that, as members of the Commonwealth, we share our common destiny because of our common historical challenges. By persuading common good goals such as economy, constitutional democracy, and sustainable development. Today is about ensuring that the CPA Free State sub-branch is publicized to its stakeholders and the general public for accountability in our international relations, which is also an annual performance program of the Legislature as we seek to operationalize the objectives of the CPA. I thank you.
No, thanks very much, Honorable Member, the Chief Whip. Indeed, our objective is to promote and protect the interests and perspectives of the CPA Africa regional parliaments and countries, and to promote gender inequality, emancipation of women, and the respect of human rights, freedom, democracy, and good governance. You also touched on the contradictions that are existing, Honorable Meko, as you make your input on the purpose of the day, which is one of the registration that were a charity organization in England. That is why some of the members couldn't participate, because there's a narrative that was celebrating the Queen. We're going back to colonialism. But I know the Deputy President Ndadele Chesa has the capacity and will give the correct perspective as to why are we here, why do we have to be part of the CPA as South Africa. Surely there's a history that between 1960 and 1961, our membership was terminated because we were much of the policies that embraces apartheid. But during 1994, we rejoined the CPA precisely because we had changed by then, which I think there was a constitution which embraces everybody. There was a rule of law which protects the Bill of Rights, which I think as South Africa we are championing even today. And there was a say that our constitution is the best in the world precisely because of the Bill of Rights. So Ndadele Chesa, can you deal with also these contradictions so that you are also able to take your message to our counterparts? May I call Ndadele Chesa Senodi to give us a message of support.
Thank you, Mrenem. Kilebula holo, kamunyetla na okufumana nkufu enkwena. Kali ketetsuba monana. I partly feel back at home, partly relaxed, but partly anxious because I haven't been here for a long time. Because I think this is a crucial step we are taking in our continuing work of the country to advance our interests. I thought I should start by pointing out that we do this thing to observe today, Africa Day, as an ongoing struggle of the continent to assert its sovereignty over its affairs. This is the responsibility for not forgetting to come together to remember where we come from, what are the challenges we are facing, and why we should continue to do so. In other words, the anti-colonial agenda continues apace. We've never stopped it because part of the reason is that what happened in our continent and in parts of other continents, a lot of damage was done, requiring a long-term rebuilding program and process. This is why we argue that the necessity for continuing to mark anniversaries such as today, which accords with the formation of the OAU then, later changing to AU, is not only to remember the past and its struggles, but to continue to define what we need to do as we proceed on this ongoing struggle of the African continent in a global environment in which we have an agenda 2063 and the sustainable development goals which we contributed to their formulation intimately. as the South African government, broadly speaking. Africa Day came about to assert the necessity to protect our sovereignty. This is why we seek to democratize global institutions of governance, such as the World Bank, International Monetary Fund, the World Trade Organization, the Security Council. So our involvement as a country in international fora, such as the Interparliamentary Union, the IPU, and the Commonwealth Parliamentary Association and its 2 chapters of Commonwealth Women Parliamentarians, is a critical platform and campaign to advance that interest of the African continent and the globe in its entirety towards better and more progressive organization and representation. For example, let's pick up on the Commonwealth Women Parliamentarians that the CWP for short was founded in 1989 to increase the number of female elected representatives in parliaments and legislatures across the Commonwealth, and to ensure that women's issues are brought to the fore in parliamentary debate and legislation. This network provides a means of building the capacity of women elected to parliament to be more effective in their roles, improving their awareness and ability of parliamentarians, male and female, and encouraging them to include a gender perspective in all respects of their roles. Oversight and representation and helping parliaments to become gender-sensitive institutions, and the recently created Commonwealth Parliamentarians with Disabilities. I'll say something about this soon, but I wanted to highlight the reality that this program, which is contained in the Commonwealth Women Parliamentarians agenda, is an agenda in South Africa which was first formally articulated in the adoption of the Women's Charter in 1954. I heard of the adoption of the Freedom Charter in South Africa, which provided a basic political statement that led to our freedom, so to speak. That charter has been reviewed post-94 and subsequently in the last 2 years. Myself and the Deputy Chair of the National Council of Provinces campaigned throughout the country the review of the Women's Charter so that it is made current in the current environment. Speaking to all the district representatives, both councillors as well as officials, including organizations in each district, but also with provincial leadership to respond to the necessity for implementation of a reviewed Women's Charter. So that agenda is consistent, growing from our own needs in our own country with the agenda of the Commonwealth Women Parliamentarians. So in a sense, you can say we took up internationally, and this resonated worldwide with what was happening in some of those fora. So when we went back into the I'll talk to this idea of our rejoining the charter as the Chief Whip was talking to here earlier. But the significance is for me to point out, often we speak about domestication of global treaties and agreements, but also we must talk about globalizing local grassroots concerns into international fora and so on. Adopted at a regional level, for example, the SADC Parliamentary Forum, as an example, has produced in its master plan the necessity for gender-sensitive budgeting and responsive budgeting, which is as part and parcel of the program we are talking about in the work of the CWP. Let me talk to the Commonwealth parliamentarians with disability. One of the most recent developments and programs is the creation of the recognizing the need to increase representations of persons with disability in political institutions. The Commonwealth Parliamentarians with Disabilities Network has been established to facilitate activities and programs to champion and increase representation of persons with disabilities in Commonwealth parliaments and to work towards the mainstreaming of disability considerations in all CPA activities and programs. The Disability Desk is to pursue our goals as contained in our own agenda, as I said earlier on. So I hope we are noticing the convergence of our own locally generated perspectives, political perspective, with the internationally agreed programs to pursue. Firstly, let us also say that we support multilateral approach. This is the country as a general practice and orientation in international relations. We support a multilateral approach to solving world and global issues instead of only focusing on bilaterals, which are often used by big powers and countries to dominate the agenda of weaker countries with poor political and administrative economic power to negotiate truthfully from a position of power. This is why, as part of the progressive non-aligned movement, we have insisted on working through multilateral, taking a multilateral approach so that we benefit from the strength of our numbers and the strength of our capacity, basically, as a collective. This is the advantage of doing so. And so our involvement, therefore, in the CPA must be seen also in that light of our engaging multilaterally so that we do not break ranks with other African parliaments in the world on issues that we can be working together and supporting each other to advance them. There's no question that the challenges we face, principally the COVID-19 pandemic globally, the multiple crises which this pandemic has reinforced, such as poverty, unemployment, and inequality, including social reproduction, by which we essentially mean the inability of people, families to make a living, to sustain their livelihood efforts wherever they are located because of the developing crisis. So in a sense, these problems that we are talking about, they need pursuing not only domestically, but pursuing in the region, and as I said, through the SADC master plan, for example, as well as the Africa Agenda 2063, and in the contents of the Sustainable Development Goals, you will find the linkages with what we are pursuing in our country. So this approach that is multilateral is a very crucial approach that we must recognize as lying behind what we are doing. Just to suggest that our post-94 rejoining of the CPA followed a successful campaigning in the 80s, towards the end of the 80s, of the ANC through its then president, Oliver Tambo, to persuade the world to accept the Harare Declaration, which became the foundation and the basis for persuading the entire Commonwealth and its organizations and institutions to support that Harare Declaration and leading the Harare Declaration to become part of the Commonwealth Charter. The essence about that charter was the previous story of South Africa then wanting to suggest the world should not intervene in its internal affairs. And the Harare Declaration persuades the world that no country must claim to be acting in its internal affairs when it violates basic universal human rights, that it must be condemned. And this is why we successfully in the first place persuaded the United Nations to adopt a resolution that condemned apartheid as a crime against humanity. So anyone pursuing those policies needed not only to be watched and or observed, but action be taken against them. So that we use the Harare Declaration inside of this Commonwealth Charter is the foundation, if you ask me, Ndade Thembeni, why we continue in this Commonwealth Parliamentary Association. We are taking forward a correct perspective about world politics and why it is necessary globally to pursue this agenda of acting together in solidarity to condemn wrong things. This is why our country today takes a position that says we are non-aligned. We call for peace and we demanded a humanitarian intervention in Ukraine and Russia. Because we can't be ahistorical. When you go to see a doctor, the doctor wants to know whether this illness you are bringing to him, even if it's a flu, whether anybody else in your environment has it, whether the illness you have has some history in the family and so on, so that the prescription and the medication provided is effective because it recognizes that it might have some history and so forth. So we maintain as South Africa that in fact what happened in that environment there was predicted that a disaster would emerge if NATO and the United States, now acting in collaboration with NATO, approach and went further than post-World War II boundaries. They have done so as a result of which having difficult relationship with the truth, ignoring agreements that led to a situation where a war broke out with critical humanitarian consequences. So we are absolutely clear that an adherence to this approach of multilaterally insisting on these global institutions acting democratically and not using their power and authority over our economies to cause the havoc that has been created, including inside those countries, is wrong, that our approach must every time put people first. Because if they did so, they would not have undertaken the kind of economic damage that is even harming their own countries. Many of them are likely to lose their elections very soon because of this, because people are recognizing this thing. You can no longer allow the truth to be sacrificed as a result, as usually said in the war. That's what disappears. In other words, the truth is sacrificed. Because of the nature of developments, you can't suppress it. Even if you kill a Palestinian journalist reporting, the truth will out. Thugs are going to be caught red-handed, they will be exposed, and we must not be afraid to steadfastly hold on to our position. This is why the Speaker of the National Assembly, on behalf of us at the IPU, persuaded the Interparliamentary Union to accept the position that says, let's persuade parliamentarians, legislators in both Ukraine and Russia to persuade their governments to sue for peace and not work into condemning people. when what we are trying to urge is to allow for ceasefire. The IPU adopted that resolution. The Speaker has been asked to be part of the task force that is meant to do that. We are likely to be traveling this week, if I'm not wrong, to be able to pursue that agenda of peace there. We are not going to have any development anywhere without peace and without solidarity and without internationalism. The Commonwealth heads of government are meeting in Rwanda next month. We are heading to Sierra Leone in Freetown for the CPA Africa region in preparation for August in Canada for the CPA International. There, too, to continue this agenda for world peace, for acting together in solidarity and so on. And it is absolutely crucial that the debates and the discussions, and this being a regional representative, Madam Speaker, protocol and debate. So sometimes I'm not able to do what I'm supposed to do by way of following that other people master so beautifully to identify all the leadership present and give them appropriate greetings and respect. But we are suggesting that this has been a very useful opportunity to reflect. We hope you are sufficiently provoked so that we must debate these matters and so on. So we must be able to report that we see the value of advancing the interest of, as parliaments, as legislators acting together. And I can report to this House, because we haven't done so, that in the past there was a huge problem of discipline of members when they were traveling. They were using those spaces as opportunities for shopping. But over time, in the last 2 terms, I think we enter in the second term now, we have had nothing but absolute discipline. The South African delegation, and working together with the rest of the African continent delegations, we have been powerfully determining the agenda of the CPA. The resolution to change from being a charity organization registered in Britain came from Gauteng, and ultimately we adopted it as a country and finally as the African continent. Our delegation was led by the Speaker, Justin Muturi of Kenya. By the way, he's contesting presidency. They have an election underway right now, so he has actually stepped aside, so to speak, to campaign for a higher job, if that's a higher job in the first place. It is a difficult one. But the point I'm making is that that delegation led by him, he's a constitutional lawyer, was absolutely clear. We told the British that they were talking about Brexit there, that, oh, Brexit, you must consider our free exit as well from the CPA. If you refuse to accept our demand for the change of status, I can tell you that in our recent Africa region meeting in Nigeria, the chairperson and the secretary of the CPA International made it very clear. This was the first political item on the agenda to report progress with what is being done. It's difficult because some of the people inside the British Parliament are not acting and playing their role. But there's no question about the unity in the African region perspective on the necessity for a change of status. This is why even in the strategy of CPA International as adopted is number 1 item is the change of status of the CPA into an international organization properly recognized by the United Nations. United Nations do not recognize charity organizations. So we are not going to. And what's bad about that charity organization status? It means when the CPA dissolves, that money which is there, which is ours, by the way, because this we pay membership here, can only be distributed in Britain to other charity organizations. So this is why this is a critical position that we are pursuing. We have unity in the African continent. There's no question about that. But also, in addition, its necessity is in line with our needing to democratize both the legal and political foundations of the institutions that we're operating in. So it doesn't conflict with our foreign international relations approach, and it is consistent with that. This is why we can't afford to break ranks with the rest of the African continent and the world that is part of the Commonwealth, because we are making the mistaken story that we are kowtowing to the Queen. She might be the titular head and patron of the CPA, but she doesn't determine policy. That is determined by member parliaments acting together, collectively. And as I've said, our own contribution there in the Commonwealth Charter was the Harare Declaration. We have every responsibility as a country to keep going at it, to democratize global institutions and act together with other African countries so that we don't break ranks. Ke lebile haholo motsamaisi wa dipuisano le lona ditho tse hlomphehileng bo mme le bontate le baeti ba leng teng. This is the most I'm glad that I was able to be present today. We are not always able to be present in places like this. For me, I feel like a boomerang. Thank you very much.
No, thanks very much, Legislature. Indeed, you have dealt with those contradictions. I'll carry the message forward to my counterparts and give them this perspective. This morning, I think some of us will say, hey, this CPA politics is another animal, which indeed you tried to extrapolate. You give it a sense as to why you are members of the CPA. And by the general statement you made, you are simply saying, we fight to position the geopolitics of Africa to get proper expression in a global space. Mara please ndatelechisa egel dilenga yena ya or charity organization. Honorable members and the guests, I am going to call Ntate Monturi, but I'm told he's not part of us, he's hospitalized. We wish him to recuperate. And we're going to receive message of support from the Secretary General of the CPA, as well as the High Commissioner, but through the audio recordings. Staff, can you start playing those audios so that the members gets to understand what does the message entails? Thank you. Sound, please. You can see pictures, but you can't hear anything.
Good morning. I'm sorry that I can't be with you in person today. I'm Stephen Twigg. I'm the Secretary General of the Commonwealth Parliamentary Association. I'm recording this in Sydney, Australia, where we're holding our first ever Good morning. I'm sorry that I can't be with you in person today. I'm Stephen Twigg. I'm the Secretary General of the Commonwealth Parliament. Good morning. I'm sorry that I can't be with you in person today. I'm Stephen Twigg. I'm the Secretary General of the Commonwealth Parliamentary Association. I'm recording this in Sydney, Australia, where we're holding our first ever residency as part of the CPA Parliamentary Academy. It's a pleasure to be speaking today following the regional chairperson of the CPA Africa region, the Honourable Justin Muturi from Kenya, and Deputy Speaker Honourable Legislature Senoli from South Africa, who represents the Africa region on our International Executive Committee. These have been hugely challenging times for parliamentarians across the world, including throughout the Commonwealth. The impact of COVID has, of course, been huge in South Africa as it has in other parts of the world. We think of those who have lost their lives to COVID. We think of those who've lost loved ones, but we also reflect on the impact on communities, on health, on education and the future life chances of children and young people. And it's so important that we come together to learn lessons from COVID and try to build back in a way that is fair to all sections of society. The South African Constitution has a very strong commitment to celebrating diversity within South Africa. And for me, it's incredibly important that that commitment is reflected throughout the Commonwealth Parliamentary Association. That is why we have a big focus in our new strategic plan on working with young people, why we hold the Commonwealth Youth Parliament to give a voice to younger generations within the Commonwealth. And that's why we have our very strong Commonwealth Women Parliamentarians Network to provide a voice for women representatives in the Commonwealth and to ensure that we do all that we can to promote gender inclusion and diversity at every level. I look forward next month to being in Sierra Leone for the CPA Africa Regional Conference, and there may be some at today's event who will be there as well. The regions of the Commonwealth Parliamentary Association are integral to our work and our activity, and CPA Africa region provides such a powerful voice, both for parliaments and parliamentarians across Africa, but also for the citizens, the people of Africa. And one issue that I know will come up in Sierra Leone is the long-standing question of the legal status of the Commonwealth Parliamentary Association. I want to do everything that I can to ensure that we get the change of status that CPA has been looking for such a long time, so that we will cease to be a charity and become recognised as the international interparliamentary organisation that we are. That is what the CPA was founded to do. That is our core purpose. That's what brings us together. And I finish really where I started. I'm here in Australia because we're holding our residency for our academy. Some of you may have taken part in the academy courses. This was launched a year ago. Online courses available to all CPA members, parliamentarians and parliamentary staff. Mutual learning from each other, supporting each other. That's what we're doing here at the event this week. That's what the Academy is about. That is what the CPA is all about. I wish you a very successful launch today, and I hope to have the opportunity to visit South Africa in person during my tenure as Secretary General of the Commonwealth Parliamentary Association. Thank you very much.
Secretary General, can you then upload the one of the High Commissioner? High Commissioner, please.
My name is Anthony Phillipson, and it's my privilege to be the British High Commissioner in South Africa. And I'm delighted to have the chance to help welcome you all to the launch of the Commonwealth Parliamentary Association Free State Legislature Sub-Branch. I'm sorry that I can't be with you in Bloemfontein in person, but I'm actually in London. Before I start, I want to thank and acknowledge the Premier of the Free State, Sephora Ntombela, the Speaker of the Free State Legislature, Zanele Sifuba, the co-presidents of the National CPA Branch, Deputy Speaker Tsanoli and Chairperson Masonde, members of the Free State Legislature and members of the Sub-Branch Executive Committee, and traditional leaders who are present today. The launch of the CPA Free State Sub-Branch is very timely, and was just ahead of the June celebrations here in the UK for Her Majesty the Queen's Platinum Jubilee. On the 6th of February this year, Her Majesty became the first British monarch to celebrate a Platinum Jubilee, marking 70 years of public service, including as head of the Commonwealth. As outgoing chair in office of the Commonwealth, the UK has been working with the incoming chair, which is Rwanda, to continue progress on Commonwealth priorities such as climate action, trade and investment, and championing democracy across the 54 Commonwealth partners. Our initiatives as Commonwealth Chair in South Africa have included supporting resilience on food security, medicine supply chains, digital transformation, supporting engagement between the South African Special Investigating Unit and anti-corruption agencies across the region, and creating meaningful employment opportunities for young people as part of our commitment to supporting the government's programs for inclusive economic growth. It is therefore wonderful to see the formal launch of the CPA in this provincial legislature. Our ambition is to work at national and provincial level across all parts of the country. The relationship between the parliaments of the UK and South Africa, both nationally and provincially, is crucial to strengthening our democracies. The CPA makes a valuable contribution in building these links between parliaments with the benefit to all of both of our countries. Peer-to-peer learning is key to what makes the CPA's work so beneficial to making our parliamentary democracies more robust to the benefit of all of our people. I hope that this launch is the start of more engagement with the UK and with me as the High Commissioner and my teams across South Africa and with other partners across the Commonwealth. I look forward to seeing this develop over the next few years, and I look forward to having the chance to visit the Free State to continue these discussions in person. Best wishes for all the discussions you will have today. Thank you again for letting me take part virtually, if not in person. Thank you.
Thanks, British High Commissioner. The next item on the program, honorable members and guests, is the address by CPA Africa Region Treasurer, which happens to be the Speaker of Gauteng Legislature, Mentombe Mehwe. She's not with us today. We also wish her a speedy recovery. We'll go straight to the keynote address by the President of the sub-region of the Free State, Ms. Anela Sifuba. May you approach the podium, Ms. Fuba.
Thank you, Program Director. In actual fact, all that needed to be said has been said, starting from the purpose and the messages of support, especially by the Deputy Speaker of the National Assembly, who is well knowledgeable in the matters of CPA. And I'm happy that you managed to explain the contradictions. There is a saying that goes, no man is an island sufficient of itself. We acknowledge the contradictions that prevail as you've brought them up, as they've been brought up in the purpose. And the manner you've articulated, where are we in terms of ensuring the change of the status of CPA? And that is not going to be easy. It's going to come, it's a struggle. This organization, with the status that it is right now, was established in 1911. So we are coming now, but we are slowly wanting to change that status. So I'm happy that that has been clarified. To the patron of sub-branch and premier of the Free State Province, Mesifura Ndombela, Deputy Speaker of the sub-branch, Lucy Mapena in absentia. Oh, I didn't see you, sorry. To the program director, was also the chairperson of committees in the sub-branch, Honorable Jabulane Khadebe. The chief whip of the majority party in the sub-branch, Honorable Thabo Meko. The Speaker of the National Assembly in absentia, Honorable Nosiviwa Mapisa Ngakula, the Speaker, the Chairperson of the Council of Provinces. I was told he is logging on the virtual platform, Honorable Amos Masondo, the Deputy Speaker of the National Assembly, Honorable Lichisa Tsinodi, the Deputy Speaker, Chairperson of the National Council of Provinces in absentia, Honorable Sylvia Lucas, honorable members of the Free State Legislature, sub-branch of the CPA, members of the National Parliament branch of CPA that might be with us, permanent delegates to the National Council of Provinces that might be with us this morning, traditional leadership present here. If she's here, Jose Khadi Khaungaleli Muroka, former members of the Free State Legislature that are with us this morning. I have seen Mr. Maluka, I have seen Mr. Ramukhwase, I have seen in the morning Ndatembalo. I don't know if he's still around. The speakers from Executive Mayor, if he's with us, of the Mangaung Metro, and the Deputy Executive Mayor, I have seen she's here with us. The Speaker of the Free State Municipalities, the Director General of the Free State Government, Mr. Radikonzan, the former Secretary to the Free State Legislature, Mr. Mufukeng, the Secretariat to the Free State Legislature sub-branch. I understand why Ntateli Chisa doesn't want to go on through that protocol thing, because sometimes, somehow, it tends to confuse. And my apologies if I have violated any protocol. Ladies and gentlemen, I am greatly honored to finally stand before you in this historic inaugural launch of the Free State Legislature sub-branch of the Commonwealth Parliamentary Association. Honorable members, let me go back and acknowledge, I know we've got our guests from KZN. The Deputy Chief Whip is here, accompanied by her colleagues in that legislature. Thank you, Deputy Chief Whip. You are warmly welcome in our beautiful province of the Free State, which is made up of 5 tourism routes across our 5 districts. We are hosting this event along the Cheetah route, home to Bloemfontein, Botshabelo and Tabanchu. The Eagle, Lion, Flamingo and Springbok routes also provides immense economic opportunities as well as cultural experience and adventure. For many years, our province as the Free State, it is important to acknowledge that it has been regarded as the food basket of the country. This is so because 40% of country's white maize production, mainly for human consumption, is from the Free State. About 38% of country's yellow maize production, mainly for animal feed, is from the Free State, and 40% of country's potatoes is from this province. Despite the reality of a troubled global economy and a persistent climate condition ravaging any potential growth, our province boasts a very strong investment destination. By searching the Free State 5 tourism routes from your devices, you immediately experience the aura of our province's great potential. So we are in an agriculture province. Let me take this opportunity once more to recognize the presence of the patron of the sub-branch premier of the Free State Province, Honorable Sifura Ntombela. Not only is the patron well placed in understanding the need for a functional democracy, but also very supportive to our established mechanisms. I also appreciate the efforts and guidance of the co-presidents of the National Branch of the Republic of South Africa, the Speaker of the National Assembly of South Africa, and the co-chairperson of the National Council of Provinces, Honorable Mapisa Ngakula and Honorable Masondo, respectively. You have done tremendous work, working together with your deputies since the launch of the national branch until now. Emerging from the successful launch of the national branch of the South African Parliament in 2021, all legislatures were required to establish sub-branches in order to operationalize the activities of the association. This means that we must comprehend the mammoth task before us to operationalize activities interlinked domestically and globally. Today, we can proudly say that we are more than ready. The launch of the Free State Legislature sub-branch of the Commonwealth Parliamentary Association is a tremendous progress in taking forward the agenda of the Commonwealth countries. And of course, having mentioned the strides already that has been made since our joining the CPA. It is a good reflection of our resolve that member states can be able to influence each other in a positive way by appreciating our unique ideas to self-development. The sub-branch will be very important in bolstering efforts towards building a strong parliamentary knowledge among partners. We are here today because the environment for dialogue and cooperation has been cemented. In our country, the governance of political institutions is highly unique as compared to other partners in the association. Yet our common goal to promote we hold a common goal to promote democratic principles. We are happy that we can take this first step towards ensuring access and visibility to the work we do. We believe that eventual launch of the sub-branch, like many others launched across the country, will help in monitoring the implementation of our objectives. The people we are representing should be able to see that our parliaments are emerging ever strong as independent and not merely seen as conformists. Progress in this regard will not only aid the association's mandate of good governance and enhancement of human rights, but it will support the great debate of regional integration and free trade in Africa. Both regional integration and free trade require a healthy, conducive governance environment. We need to remain true to our guiding documents, such as the CPA Constitution, which makes provision for this launch, and that of the Commonwealth Women Parliamentary Chapter. In terms of this Constitution, in our AGM, we then have to launch the CWP. That is why we could not launch the CWP, which is the Women Chapter. At the same time, we are launching this branch. The other key documents include resolutions from various CPA conferences, the African Union and United Nations Charters and Millennium Development Goals. None of these key guiding documents can be against the objectives of the South African Constitution. Rather, they help us to satisfy its provisions. Furthermore, it is expected that following this launch, all the thematic areas from regional and international conferences will be properly packaged so that there is proper monitoring and implementation of commitments. It goes without saying that there is always keen interest in dealing with pertinent topics such as the climate change, rapid urbanization, and decline of rural development, impact of global conflict, and diplomatic relations. We shall have to do justice to all aspects of these issues. Honorable members, in conclusion, this inaugural launch coincides with the celebration of Africa Day in terms of the AU calendar events, as you would remember that on this day, the 25th of May, 1963, the OAU was established, which is a post-colonial Africa's first continent-wide association of independent states. Founded by 32 countries and based in Addis Ababa, Ethiopia, it became operational on September 13th, 1963, when the OAU Charter, its basic constitutional document, entered into force, that is in September 13th, 1963. The OAU's membership eventually encompassed all Africa's 53 states, by that time with the exception of Morocco, which withdrew in 1984 to protest the admission of the Saharan Arab Democratic Republic of Western Sahara. The OAU was dissolved in 2002 when it was replaced by the African Union that we have currently, that continues to propel and advance the interests of the African people. We therefore need to practicalize all our efforts for the transformation of the CPA across board and to strengthen mutual respect. However, we cannot achieve mutual respect while the registration status of the association remains unchanged. The celebration of Africa Day must be understood as part of African independence and the defeat of colonialism. Thus, the operational mechanism and remnants within the association that remain to remind us about the colonial relationship between the member states must be discouraged and deracinated. Africa is already facing many other challenges in technology and finance to mitigate the impact of climate change. These challenges are now exacerbated by COVID-19 pandemic and the Russia-Ukraine conflict, which is now affecting global food security and the price of many other commodities. It is unimaginable that our to-do list should still include praying for recognition as an association of democratic parliaments. These we consider as high priority issues, including issues affecting CPA small branches network, the Commonwealth Women Parliamentarians, which we will launch later in the year, and the youth and the disability sectors. The Commonwealth countries represent a third of world population, which could represent a third largest impact of environmental degradation or rather conservation. We need to choose to use our number to the benefit of the environment and humanity better. At the end of the day, we must stand as brothers and sisters with equal status to influence change. Without each other, we are doomed to fail. Ladies and gentlemen, it is my honor to present the Free State CPA sub-branch to the members of the sub-branch and the people of the Free State. I thank you.
Before Honorable Speaker, you leave the podium, I'm told that you've got an intention, in fact, to appreciate the attendance of the delegation, okay, as well as honorable members. May you do so whilst Honorable Mashenene read himself to give us the vote of thanks. I'm told soon we'll be launching WPA in Datemeko. I'm talking to you, Honorable Member. We'll be launching WPA. And this is the disclaimer. I'm not available. Thank you very much. You may continue, Honorable Speaker.
Yes. As Speaker, knowledge of the speaker at the telling in Gaga, Oh,
Honorable members and guests, we have arranged just small tokens of appreciation for our guests and the members of sub-branch. So we are going to embark on that process right now to appreciate you and to just say here is something significant that we gave to you during our launch. Ntate Mashaka.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. We have reached a stage where after the speech by the speaker, there is an invitation for the part where the speaker will be giving the token of appreciations to the members of the branch as well as the delegates. First, we will, with the permission of the chair, call upon the Deputy Speaker of the Parliament, Senodi, to come forward. Thank you very much. For the National Assembly. For the National Assembly.
Obviously, Deputy Chief Whip wa KZN. And then Mr. Speaker, Deputy Chief Whip wa KZN.
Following the Deputy Speaker, we now call upon the Deputy Chief Whip from KwaZulu-Natal, Ntate Galuza. Metaluza. My apologies.
Good, thank you. Ingubo kaMme Winnie Mandela le. Okay. Thank you. Well. Masibanike behleli phansi i-members. Do we have somebody else from? Go lead the umbrella tsa bona. Uto ba fa dikuba ke le go lead the umbrella tsa bona. Former members. O ka indile mfuke?
Ndete mfuke nditsimo.
O botsuka. Ba phele. Nitsa bona he. Le ntate mfuke.
Ntate Tukwana, honorable member, the rules of the house still applies in this session.
Okay, the former member. I now call upon the former members of the Free State Legislature. Dadembalo.
What is the guy?
Dadembalo. I'll come back to Dadembalo if it's here. Dademaloka. You may come forward. Dadera Mukwatsi. Dadera Mukwatsi.
Taba ke siba. Taba ke katiba. No. Thank you.
The former secretary to the Free State Legislature, Dadum Fuge. Thank you, Sakapul. Lukubo, madam. Thank you. Dr. Radigonzan, Director General. Dr. Radigonzan.
Ma, Rati Konza.
Dr. Radigonzan. I don't know.
Ke mamutu. O a re tla mo
From the office. ya secretary for Northern Cape.
Miss. Okay. PPSA.
PPA, yeah. Or public protector.
Yeah, not for Ms. Satsane from the Office of the Public Protector of South Africa, Senior Investigator.
It's on me. And then
officers, secretary,
Secretary.
Kimang
okay.
Ramu what? Ramu Savo, Kim.
No, that's a mom.
Okay.
Secretariat zone Northern Cape. Secretariat.
The Office of the Secretary from the Northern Cape Legislature.
Very special person in the Free State.
Announce our the members ribatli setse di sitting tsabo. For honorable members of the legislature, including the MECs, we will deliver the gifts to your chairs.
Thanks very much, Secretary. That's progressive.
Thank you very much, Chair.
No, that's very progressive. Order, Honorable Tukwana. Order. Yeah, no, the CPA sub-branch is launched officially today. Gone are those days where members will fly around Africa without proper mandate. Some of them, that opportunity was used as a matter of enjoying their holidays. Now you'll be tasked directly to go and engage and give feedback to us. Thank you very much. In that machine, vote of thanks. And announcements. An announcement. Okay. What I announce, okay.
Okay. Thank you very much, Program Director, Chairs of Chairs, the Treasurer of CPA, Dr. Khatebe. Let me also thank in fact, we have pushed the program very well. I'm sure everyone that is here is very happy in the manner that we have pushed the program. We also thank Justin Muturi in absentia, who is the African Region Chair. We also want to thank Honorable Legislature Tsinudi, who is the Deputy President here in his capacity as the Republic of South Africa branch of the CPA, Africa Region. We also want to thank the President and his Deputy of the CPA sub-region, Mezanele Sefuba, the patron of the sub-branch, the Premier of the Free State, Mentombela. We also want to thank Stephen Twix, who is the Secretary General of the CPA. This shows the importance of technology. That is the fourth industrial revolution. For having time to grace this occasion. The CPA Africa Region Treasurer, Ntombi Mikhwe, the traditional leaders that is here. Thank you very much, Mama, from gracing this occasion, from KZN Deputy Speaker. It takes a lot. You have to shift other issues. We know the challenges that are faced in the KZN, but you made it a point that you are here. A very good gesture indeed. The mayors that are here, thank you very much for gracing this particular occasion. Present and former members, good to see you here. This reminds you about the memory when you were part of this house before. We appreciate your presence. Distinguished guests that are here, ladies and gentlemen, all in all, I'm not going to go to any emphasis made by any input that were made here. I want to sum it up by saying the Free State Legislature appreciate your input. The Free State Legislature appreciates setting time aside to celebrate this. And I think when moving forward, the CPA will be more discussed so that many of us can understand what the CPA is standing for. I remember when the program director was talking, you could hear elements of saying, clarify for us, clarify for us, clarify for us. This is the time. But key and central, Africa be united and have one common goal. Thank you very much, Speaker. The announcement, you will be making announcement, the Secretary will be making announcement, but on the program...
I'm still the program director. No, that was on a lighter note, Honorable Member.
Okay.
Indeed, you were tasked to also make some announcements. We are waiting for the acting Deputy Secretary. Or Secretary, do you have those announcements with you? I know it is specifically about lunch.
Indeed, Chair, for the announcement, the most important part there is about where the lunch is going to be held. I'm just waiting for the Executive Secretary. Apologies, honorable members and guests, just a minute for the Executive Secretary to provide the details about where the lunch is going to be held.
Honorable members, we have concluded the business of today. We are just waiting for a direction as to where lunch will be served. Thank you very much. Oh, you, honorable members, you are requested to go outside there by the flags for photo shoot. You are also invited former MPs. Thank you. About going to be outside, please. Photo shoot outside.